If you notice a colleague who is like stuck in a negative loop, the answer is not to avoid them, which very often we do, naturally so, and it's also not to shut them down immediately. Instead, it is to change the format of the conversation. When someone ruminates, their brain is reinforcing a negative emotion and then keeps on looping it, even when nothing new is happening. It is that time when you spiral over and over and over a specific topic or on something that could happen or might happen, and then you just cannot let go. It keeps you awake at night. That is rumination. Instead of just reflecting and reframing things, now what happens is that the brain locks these repetitive thoughts, and then it just keeps on staying locked in these repetitive thoughts. If you ruminate over negativity, our attention narrows, our cognitive flexibility declines, even our visual aperture narrows down. How fascinating is that? Now, negative emotions and rumination rarely stay with one team member, because here comes something that we call emotional contagion. Here enters emotional contagion. All those conversations around the coffee area or all those conversations with colleagues. So what now happens is that we activate the same effective predictions with our colleagues, and now the whole team begins to carry the emotional load, often even without realizing. Sometimes you say, "Oh, I'm so charged with all these things, I don't even feel their mind." Of course, that's the emotional contagion. And the emotional contagion rarely applies to actual positive effect, but it has an escalating result when it comes to negative effect, especially all that woulda, coulda, shoulda type of scenarios. So, emotional contagion, absolutely dangerous when it comes to teams. What can we do? Well, we can actually create co-rumination. Co-rumination enters, this is very different, co-rumination. Rumination single, co-rumination, you already know in which direction I'm going, because co-rumination can actually be constructive when talking together. But co-rumination only happens under the right conditions. Problem is that this shift doesn't happen on its own. So what we call unstructured co-rumination reinforces the negative spiral. So if you do not control the specific type of co-rumination you create with your team or with your colleagues, what happens is that same emotional contagion then has an impact on you, and then it keeps on coming back, right? So that's why it's important that when you do this co-rumination, it has to be facilitated properly, right? Because when we facilitate co-rumination properly, we activate our executive control network, which supports cognitive appraisal, emotional regulation, even changing our interpretation on a situation, right? It's so important. But structured and facilitated co-rumination, which truly transforms this raw emotional effect into a way to collaborate and to build on it and even to develop it further, has to follow specific scientific facilitation tools. And now it's going to sound like promotion, but get in touch with us for this, because it has to be specific to the team, to the organization, to the time of day and topic and so on. And if it's not done right, or if it's unstructured, then we go in this situation. Question is, okay, what can I do today? Well, if you notice a colleague who is like stuck in a negative loop, the answer is not to avoid them, which very often we do, naturally so, and it's also not to shut them down immediately. Instead, it is to change the format of the conversation. So you want to move from this unstructured rumination that they are experiencing to a structured process where emotion first is being acknowledged. Okay, what are you feeling? Acknowledge it, discuss about that. Then you reframe it. Okay, does this mean that maybe the reason I'm feeling this is ba 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 ba? And then you actually constructively use it. Great, what can we do out of this?